Thanks very much, Ceann Comhairle. Firstly, I want to commend my colleague, Deputy O'Brien, not only for this bill, but in general for all of the work that he's done in relation to housing. I mean, I don't think anybody in this chamber could disagree with the statement that rents need to be reduced. And between my time here in the Dáil and previously then on the local authorities, I'm 11 years elected, and housing is consistently the #1 issue that we deal with, and it is just getting worse year on year. I want to agree with a lot of what Deputy Kenny said in relation to HAP and trying to find HAP properties. It is nearly impossible for people to try and find a property that will accept HAP. And then I do think, and I was going to take the opportunity when the Minister was here, but maybe the message could be passed along, that I do believe the HAP system needs to be looked at, because when a landlord will accept HAP, first of all, that's a celebration in itself. Then second of all, a lot of the times they won't get that money until the end of the month. So if someone moved into a property, for example, on the 1st of October, the payment isn't made until that last Wednesday, and people often don't have the money themselves. And that's for people who qualify for HAP. There's a huge amount of people that don't qualify for any supports, and they are trying to save potentially for a mortgage. Now, it is absolutely impossible to be in the private rented market and save for a mortgage, and it's totally unfair that just because you're in that situation that you're locked out of the housing market. There was a scheme a number of years ago as well where local authorities were able to provide mortgages at a 3% deposit. Now, these were for people who could prove that they were able to pay rent, but they just weren't maybe able to come up with the 10% deposit. We need to start looking at imaginative things like this again. We've gone totally backwards in relation to housing. We don't ever hear of affordable housing schemes, let alone say affordable rental schemes. And at least if rent was affordable for people, they could hang on a little bit longer on the housing list. One of the biggest issues that we see day in, day out is people saying, I don't mind if I have to wait, but the thing is I can't afford it. I can't afford to make up the difference in HAP. I can't find a landlord that will take HAP. A whole bunch of other people then, I don't qualify for anything. Even though they might be on a modest income, they're totally locked out of any supports. And people are, living with parents well past age with their own kids, and it's totally unacceptable. And that doesn't even cover people who are facing homelessness, people who are in emergency accommodation, and people who are in totally unsuitable accommodation but afraid of their life to open their mouths for fear that they'll be put on a notice to quit. I think those are the main points that I did want to make. But just to reiterate, and I really hope, it's been stated by government disappointingly that they're not going to support the bill, but there really needs to be solutions in relation to housing, in relation to affordability, in relation to actually the building of public housing, and rents are a massive part of that, because if people can afford to pay their rent, it leads to less notices to quit. You have, as Deputy O'Brien said earlier, it's less pressure on the whole system if people can afford to pay. There can't be a TD in here that doesn't have people day in, day out, notice to quit, can't find a place, unsuitable accommodation. And it is huge stress for absolutely everybody in that situation. So, I don't know how many more times we have to talk about this in here, or how many more debates we have to have about it, but we really, really need to see some solutions, and it's disappointing that the government are going to vote against this. Thanks, Ceann Comhairle.